Welcome to A Taste of AZ podcast, where we interview everyone from James Beard award-winning chefs to local mixologists, winemakers, breweries, and so much more. We've got an awesome episode lined up for you today. But before we get into that, head to atasteofaz.com so you can subscribe to our quarterly magazine and email newsletter to find all of the best places to eat and drink around town. Don't forget to follow us on social media. Now let's get into the episode.
Well, I'm half a sip into the drinking chocolate. Tandy?
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yes.
Thanks for having me in.
Of course.
This is incredible. This is what my intro is going to go by the wayside. We're just jumping right into this. So.
Perfect. Yeah.
What is drinking chocolate versus hot chocolate or...
So hot chocolate is made with defatted cacao, which would be like cocoa powder. All the fat has been removed. So a cocoa bean has over 50% natural fat, which is also what white chocolate's made from, is the fat of the bean. And so in cocoa powder, in order for it to emulsify with water well, they remove all the fat because water and oil don't like each other.
Yeah.
So it makes it easier for it to mix kind of quickly. So this is a traditional method. So we're using real chocolate and cooking it into water for hours. And then it's an overnight process by the time we cool and reblend it. But this is a blend of 3 different beans. And then we're using right now a little bit of Szechuan and fennel seed in there. But we rotate which beans or which chilies we're using throughout the year. So in the fall, I'll do a zippy spicy pepper because it's cold season. And then kind of rotating through. This one kind of has vanilla notes and it's got a little bit of heat, but it's very gentle.
It's very incredible.
Yeah. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tandy.
Hello.
This is just this is just a piece of the whole story, and I'm excited to dive into this because your place, aptly named Tandy's, is incredible. It's in this iconic spot that has housed legends, and now here you are taking over, right?
Yes.
That's exciting.
This space is so cool. Years and years ago, it had Sophia's, which was a French bistro, and then it was Bink's Midtown, which was Kevin's casual restaurant, and then he relocated Binkley's down here and did a lot of modifications on the space, creating an open kitchen and just installing some really beautiful features that, as a small business, we wouldn't have been able to do out of the gate with construction. And then obviously Larder in the Delta was here with their fine dining Southern cuisine.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, here's Tandy's featured in our most recent magazine issue. Cheers to that. Along with your neighbors over here, Michela,
yes.
Yeah. They do some great stuff
they
over
do.
there too. You guys got a lot of really between this place, Tandy's, Michela, Glybon. Even in the beer world, you got Wren House up the street. I can't ever remember the name of the pink Mexican.
Así es la vida.
Yeah, you knew what I was gonna say too.
Yes.
Yeah. I've been there a few times. Incredible. And what a great experience, and just you're plugged in. It's kind of an escape type of experience. You're a great addition to this neighborhood. So,
and we're lucky to be on this street because, I love Glybon, and there's Rewind, and then there's a cool cigar shop just around the corner.
Yeah.
So, I wish I lived here back when it was Bink's Midtown was in this area about 12 years ago, and I wish now that I lived in this area because I'm jealous now.
Yeah, and you have to drive further to work now,
exactly,
right?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I would never. I would just have a cot back here, so it's probably a good thing I don't live that close.
For sure. Yeah, it's like the in-laws. It's they're 35 minutes away, which is perfect because otherwise they'd be over here too often.
Yeah.
So are you originally from Arizona?
I'm originally from Wyoming.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So
nice.
Been long enough here for my blood to thin, though. So I've been here for around 18 years, I think.
Okay.
16 or 18 years.
When did you move here?
So I came down here in 2009.
Okay.
So whatever that math is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
so 16 years.
So I came here in 2007, and it's all those years are starting to, I'm about 20. I've been here for about 20 years. Yeah. So what's growing up in Wyoming, Was food always a big part of your life?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So none of my family is done formal cooking,
Okay.
but my mom had a massive cookbook collection.
Okay.
And so us as kids would start going through the cookbooks and we'd start looking at stuff. So we always did kind of like a Sunday themed night
Okay.
where
Nice.
we would pick a cuisine or pick a recipe from that. And then we would like make it as a family. And then my dad was always the grill master. So
Yeah.
I remember sitting on the porch watching him grill steaks and hearing my mom yell at him and say, "You better be turning them over." It's like so fun to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dynamic. So yeah, I just grew up in cooking. We had a whole basement that had like a wet bar and just it was a total entertaining area. So
Yeah.
my family always had people over just like entertaining in our basement. And yeah, so it's just very much a part of my life growing up.
Yeah, that's really cool because that's to me that's what food is. I mean, obviously I like the taste of food and drink, but it's my grandmother owned our town restaurant. Like I grew up in a really small town in Ohio. And it's funny because I feel when I have these conversations, like, we've never met. So I'm telling you this a brand new story. But if people listen to the podcast, like, oh my gosh, the grandma story, like every single time, but it's relevant to every conversation. But that was what really drew me into the community was the community aspect of it, right? Like there's always so much like just love and so much more going on around food than the product itself, yeah. So that's really cool. And so did you have a path at that point? Like when you were growing up, did you want to be like, oh, I want to be this or that?
No, my family is all in range and agriculture, so
Okay.
but mostly the plant side of things. So they all grew up kind of certifying hay fields and helping people with bug problems. And my sister has a master's in rangeland watershed ecology and management. And my dad worked for the university doing all things in range. So I always thought my path would be in the animal side of agriculture because that was my like small way to rebel.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not going into plants. I'm going into animal science. So I actually went to college for animal science and had a lot of scholarships through livestock judging. So I did a lot of that growing up. And then I went to college and got associates in animal science. And me and one of my friends had a house there and we just had everybody over and we cooked constantly. So we threw a lot of just like food parties at our house. And when I got to the end of my degree, I didn't really see a direction from there. And I was like, I kind of just want to go to culinary school and be a chef. So that started the gears turning. And then I picked a school in Phoenix. My mom had an investment home down in Florence. So naive, I mean, like from Wyoming. So naive to the whole like spectrum of Arizona.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I can like live in the house and go to school.
Yeah.
And no, it's pretty far away. So I ended up, I had already chose the school. So I ended up coming here anyway. And I went to Arizona Culinary Institute. And then while I was in that program, Chef Wolf, who was actually my sister class, he was the chef of the sister class that was teaching. And he asked me if I was looking for a job, which ultimately led me to Cafe Bink.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
So,
well, let me back up for a second. Why? What caused you to be like, I want to do culinary school? Like, what?
I had a lot of deep thinking and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I loved cooking. And I remember my mom and many philosophers over the years saying, if you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
So that kind of just led me down that path.
Now, this many years later, do you still?
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. I think, I remember being in culinary school and talking to my sister, and my sister was, she was the little angelic child that, went into agriculture, was summa cum laude, valedictorian, just like very much a role model for me.
Yeah.
And when I went to culinary school and started working for Cafe Bink, I remember calling her and talking on the phone for hours, just so excited about, haricot vert and a butter sauce,
Yeah.
And she was like, I think it's so cool that you have found your passion, and like I'm really jealous because I think that you have found a direction in your life. And at this time she was, still doing stuff in range but hadn't quite found her home or like where she was going to be for her forever job.
Yeah.
So like having that moment of my sister being like, I like idolize you because I think you're so passionate about this. I wish that I had something I was this passionate about, and she's very
Yeah.
passionate about plants. So to hear her say that, I was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh. So yeah,
Wow.
that's when I was like, I've made it.
That's really cool. And taking your own path, right? There's
Mhm.
there's joy in that, of, rebelling and going towards the animal science side of it, right? That was like that first step, but and then you get the confirmation from somebody that you look up to, right?
Mhm.
That's like, you're like, okay, cool. Like this is great. So you leave culinary school and go to Cafe Bink.
Yep.
Was it here, or where was it?
Cafe Bink. No, Cafe Bink was where Confluence is up in Cave Creek.
Oh, okay,
So
okay,
Cafe Bink was the first restaurant that Kevin opened.
gotcha.
I don't know if that's true. I think he might have opened up Binkley's first, then Cafe Bink. It's all a
One
wash
of the
with me.
first, yeah.
But yeah, both predate me.
Okay,
But it was his casual concept. So I
okay,
met there. It was kind of funny because Chef Wolf mentioned, he was like, are you looking for a job? And I said, yes, I would. And he said, I'm going to ask you 3 questions. And I was like, okay. And he's like, are you willing to work in school? I was like, yes. And he's like, are you a hard worker and are you willing to drive? I said, yes. And he said, if somebody yells at you, are you going to cry? And I said, no. And he's like, all right, here's this guy's number.
he already had it lined up.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
great.
And so I think, like Kevin and the whole Binkley's culture was very renowned for, hard kitchens to work in.
Yeah.
And that's really why I wanted to go, because I kind of idolized the 80s when all the chefs got kind of their ass kicked.
Yeah.
Because I think they learned so much and there was so much respect around what they did, and they were kind of like the bad boys. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's awesome, because I think you learn a lot. I think when you're coddled, you don't learn as much. I think, a
Yeah.
lot of your process and the people who are the best at what they do, went through the ringer at one
Yeah.
point in time. So
Well, it's one of those industries that I feel very grateful because we're on a different side of it, right? Like we're not, I worked when I dropped out of college. I worked at Chili's for like 6 months. That was horrible. I was a fry cook. When I moved out here, I worked at Buffalo Wild Wings for like 6 months as like a bartender. That's the extent of my service experience, or industry experience on that side. And it's brutal. It's tough, right? Like so having that, that ringer to go through, it's like, are you ready for this industry? Because you could coddle somebody and then they come out like, I'm ready. And then like first shift hits and it's like, oh shit. Like,
I remember, my first day, I made a garlic aioli wrong, and I knew how to make an aioli, but I just, it was like confit, and it was just something. Now thinking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, it was so simple. But I remember just being petrified because I didn't chop up the garlic cloves before I put them like in the mixer when I was making it. So there was like massive chunks, and this one guy was like kind of trying to help me out because he liked me, and so
Yeah.
he was like, oh, like it's okay. So he's like helping me try to fix my problem so that they don't find out, because at this point I'm just staging. It's
Yeah.
like, this is like your job interview. And I was like so nervous, and he's like, it's okay. But it was like a whole roasted clove, and I don't know. I don't know if I put the whole clove. I don't know what I did because it was so long ago. But I just remember like the whole thing being a nightmare. Like this Scott guy, and I knew Scotty. We always called him Scotty. He worked there for like probably 5 years when I was there, and just like gentle soul. And he was just like super passionate about it, and just it was just
Looking
crazy
over his
to
shoulders,
see.
like, okay, so hey,
He probably saved me my job, bailing me out.
Yeah.
Which, looking back, that was the start of everything. So
yeah. But it seemed like you already had that intuition to know that, all right, I messed this up, right? Like,
how do we fix it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But which shows that you care, right? And, and sometimes that fear of what's coming over my shoulder is, it's good motivation sometimes,
Yeah.
So what did you do from there? Like, so were you there for a while?
Yeah, so I worked at Cafe Bink for about 2.5, maybe 3 years before I transitioned to Binkley's. So Kevin was running Binkley's at the time, and Brandon Gauthier was running Cafe Bink. So Brandon was my primary chef at Cafe Bink, and I worked underneath him all the way through. And I just remember watching him was like dancing. Like he just he was every movement made sense. So like watching him cook was like dancing. So it was just really, really cool working with him. And then right as I got ready to transition over to Binkley's, he went over to Binkley's and then took back over as kind of the exec when Kevin was stepping back just a little bit to help open up the new restaurants. And so then I got to continue to work with Brandon for the next 2.5 years before I went back. And then I was the chef at the cafe.
Okay.
So kind of full circle. I worked at the cafe, worked at Binkley's, worked through all the stations at the Binkley's, that restaurant, the high-end restaurant up in Cave Creek before I took over as the chef of the cafe.
Okay.
And then was there for about a year before they opened up the new concepts. And then I kind of was a restaurant roundsman and bounced around all the new concepts when they opened them.
Gotcha. Okay. I feel like I wasn't quite into the food scene when Kevin was like, his places were at their peak. So I feel like I missed out on that, right?
Yeah.
You know, like my daughter always is like, she's 14. She's like, I wish I was alive during the grunge days. You know?
Yeah.
Like Alice in Chains and Nirvana. You know?
I know. That's like the whole thing. Exactly. Yeah.
So you got to experience that and you got to come up in that. Like what a great, like, I don't want to say system, but I guess for lack of a better word, like system or culture to learn, to kind of get your experience in.
Yeah. There was no net. Like every day you worked and if you fell, you fell.
Yeah.
I learned in 5 years what most people do in 10. So it was a crash course that really, set me on a very quick course throughout my career.
And did you have any like thoughts or inclinations of like, I want to do my own thing at some point? Or?
It's so funny because I think if you ask anybody in culinary school, they're like, yeah, I want to open up my own restaurant. Yeah. And I think about 2 years in, I was like, nope, I'm not opening a restaurant. I'm content to be on the sidelines.
Yeah.
And then I kind of, for a long time, I didn't think I wanted to open up a restaurant. And after Binkley's, I went and worked for the Phoenician and then ran multiple outlets at the Phoenician and learned a lot more about just systems and cost control and just, it's politics. I mean, once you get into resorts, you have to be a politician.
Yeah.
So
what do you mean by that? Like,
it's just, there's so many outlets and there's so many things going on that you just have to learn how to deal with people and how to, you're a mother and you're just to so many people. You're a mentor, you're a mother, you're a guidance counselor. You're dealing with multiple different personalities and trying to help guide people through the way. But then you're also changing menus, with your direct chefs, which leads to the exec team, and the exec team has the accounting team. And so you're learning to kind of guide them into what makes sense for your outlet, but in a way where it makes sense for the resort, So it's we really wanted to do cool food at the Phoenician that was a little bit kind of funky and edgy at the day, but we're like the 3 meal a day restaurant in a fine hotel. So we were pushing a lot of boundaries, so we kind of learned how to guide and go through those systems. So it's just so it's just you learn how to deal with people more than food at that point in time, which I think was an important part of my process.
When I would assume too, that, and I think you kind of, I don't know the right word I'm looking for, but you kind of gave hint to this, but it's like there are other departments that are involved that it's like, all right, cool idea, but from guest services, that doesn't work for us or whatever it is.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. I remember plating so many dishes and my chef, Chef Boyer and Chef Lee, both of them saying, okay, now how is the guest going to eat it? And I know, I'm like, they just eat it. And he's like, all right, well, are they getting grease on their hands? What if it's a lady in a white dress? What's our, do we need to provide a napkin? Do we need to provide a wet wipe? What if she tries to eat this with a fork and knife? Is it still plausible? It's is that the right plate for the deal? Is this, and those things like that, you don't even think about. I'm like, if you serve something in a slightly sloped dish that requires a fork and knife for people who want to use a fork and a knife. I'm like, it's a chicken wing. Yeah. Why would you use a fork and a knife?
Right.
And he's like, well, they're not going to grab it with their hands when they're in a white dress, And I'm like, oh. So then, it's like serving chicken wings on plates and different things. It's that you don't even think about.
That's very interesting. So, yeah. Well, I mean, that adds to what we love about those high-end hotels and resorts is every little thing is thought about. So you can, as a guest, you can come and just enjoy yourself. Right. And, Because you're there, you're dressed up all nice, and I say, I pick up this burger. I'm like, because I'm the one that spills on myself all of the time. My younger daughter's like, she's like, Dad, you always have a stain on the middle of your shirt. I'm like, I know, I can't help it. But that's very interesting, and it's one of those things too where you learn so much from the corporate world, right? Where I think we tend to, especially on the local level, it's like, corporate, I quit my corporate job because I didn't want to be in the corporate world. But then when I started, when we started this business, it's like, wow, I learned a ton from the corporate world.
Oh, yeah.
Like organization, systems, all of that stuff. So that's great that you had, obviously you had the experience with Kevin where it was like, the epitome of an exceptional, food. But then you have this hospitality training as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And then after that, that's kind of where I stumbled into chocolate.
Okay.
So during COVID hit when I was at the Phoenician and I went home because I was just sitting here at my house and there's nothing to do in Phoenix. And my sister was working she works for the agriculture agriculture department at Sheridan College.
Okay.
And so she was in the process, working with all of her teachers and converting everything onto online classes and starting to teach from home. And she had, just shy of a 1-year-old and her husband runs a saddle tree shop. So he's working in the wood shop building saddle trees. So he doesn't have the ability to multitask and help with those things because he's in the shop, which is not the best place for a 1-year-old. So I'm like, I'm just chilling in Phoenix. Like, why don't I come home? I can help watch Cedar and you can be freed up to do some stuff. And then that kind of led me on a 8-month trek, back in Wyoming, and just kind of, I think in the restaurant world, we kind of forgot what it was like to have holidays or weekends off. And, it's
Sure.
we just had no work-life balance for so many years and you get so desensitized to it that you don't even realize. So I think that kind of reset my work-life balance a little bit. And then I got a call from a distant relative that they have a hunting camp up in Alaska and they were looking for somebody to help for about a month in the summer. And I was like, well, I'm not doing anything. I might as well go up to Alaska and cook.
Yeah.
So I flew up to the Arctic Circle, as far north as you can go in Alaska on a bush plane. And I cooked for a hunting camp and met some really, really cool people up there. And one of them, his niece has a chocolate shop in Ashland, Ohio, but he lives in Phoenix part of the year.
Okay.
So he had asked me if, there was an opportunity to open up a chocolate shop in Phoenix. And I was like, no, I would never be content to dip strawberries, in chocolate the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But if I could make chocolate, that would be interesting.
Okay. Yeah.
And he was like, well, have you ever made chocolate? And I had only seen it once. I worked and traveled out in Spain for 3 months, kind of during one of the renovation phases at Phoenix, and worked at a restaurant called Asador Echebari, which is, I think they're currently ranked maybe number 2 or number 3 in the world right now.
Wow.
But when I was there, they were top 20, but 13th the year that I was there. And they do everything over campfire, just everything over coal, over campfire,
their whole menu.
A whole menu.
Yeah.
Yeah. He has smoked ice cream. They do a lightly grilled caviar, just everything.
Yeah.
It's just cutting edge and super, super cool. So I got the opportunity to work there for about 3 months and they were making chocolate. They did everything from scratch. So one time we were in what I call, it's like a pasta strainer that he had kind of over the coals grilling chocolate or cacao. So just like this in little baskets. And then they would grill it till they popped and then they put it on a table. And we had about 8 of us around this table and we were hand cracking each of the beans to get the shell off the outside. So there's a really thin papery husk. Of course, none of these are roasted, so they're going to be really hard to crack. But if we find a dry one, there we go.
There you go. Nice.
So there's the nibs that are inside. And so we were hand cracking these and man, by the end, they did it while they were hot still.
Yeah.
So they were hot, but then it's also you're kind of pressing hard. So our fingers were all numb, but then we put them all into the center of the table and then scooped them into a melanger. And then, they ground it for a couple days and then made their maitre d' truffles out of it.
Wow.
And to be honest, I had forgotten about this experience. And then years later when this kind of came up, I was like, oh my gosh, that was my first experience with chocolate. And I remember being so interested because I'm like, wait, this is chocolate. And we're tasting it as the process went. And yeah, so that's kind of where that chocolate edge came to. So
That's interesting because it kind of it goes back to your roots of agriculture, right? Like from the sea, like from like the core element of what this stuff is,
yeah.
right? And
So I
that's
do specialize in plants.
yeah,
Ah.
yes. Oh, look at
The
that.
rebellion.
Full
Just
circle,
kidding.
full circle. Yeah, but no, that's great. For me, that's what I've always that's what kind of drew me into. Like craft beer specifically was like the agricultural side of it. Like, when Sinagua malt up in the Verde Valley started growing, getting farmers to grow barley instead of alfalfa to like preserve river water, and hops and all this stuff. There was a place in Maricopa. These guys were doing hops in a greenhouse. Yeah. And there's wild hops. So those were the things. And I went to Jester King in Texas. I don't know if you're a craft beer person at all, but have you heard of Jester King?
I haven't. I used to be a craft beer person. I'm not as much as a beer person anymore.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither. I like to say I had my fill of beer in my first 45 years, and since then I've taken a little hiatus. But Jester King outside of Austin, it was really cool because it was a farmhouse brewery, and so like they did all spontaneous fermentation. Like they just used
cool.
like the Arizona or like the Texas hills country limestone water, and then they would instead of using like traditional yeast, they would just use wild bacteria from around, and so all their beers were like wild ales, and so that flipped a switch for me. I'm like, this is cool. Like I love the agricultural side of food and beverage. Like when it comes down to you're taking this plant and you're creating the end product is this incredible
and this
drink
is
of chocolate.
Fermented too, so all fermented
interesting.
beverages are pretty delicious.
I didn't realize this was fermented.
So it grows on a pod, and then what's inside is this is a dried pod, but this would normally be like white and kind of covered with pith.
Okay.
And then it's membrane, not pith. It just looks like pith. And then you put it into a box and it gets fermented and then dried, and then these are fermented and dried beans. Whoops.
Ooh, that was
so
a
when you
jumping
see
one
it,
there.
you see it. So this is not
very
fermented, so
cool.
you can actually see like the color difference between the two.
Yeah,
like once it's
interesting.
fermented, which is where a lot of like those flavors come from. Like when you talk about like the conversion of lactic acid and how you get like yogurt notes and fruity notes and stuff like that. A lot of it comes from the fermentation process, but also genetics, and then the membranes, the natural sugars, and then of course microbial terroir, which is the yeast in the area. Yeah.
Man, this is incredible. Like this, I never knew chocolate was so amazing.
Yeah, I know.
Besides just eating it in handfuls. Let's take a quick break and then we'll jump back into this.
A real quick reminder, head over to atasteofaz.com and subscribe to our email newsletter. Also, subscribe to A Taste of AZ magazine and get it shipped right to your door. Now let's get back into today's episode.
Okay, so in the Alaskan circle, that's not a thing.
Arctic
circle, yeah. So that had to have been a pretty incredible experience.
Yeah, so I had kind of envisioned us being able to like cook over wood, and they're like, oh no, there's no wood up there. Like it's permafrost. There's like no trees. It's just like ice half the year, and then the other half the year it's like thawed out, and then you have this like huge like spongy kind of surface you walk on, which is crazy. Yeah.
Because that's not what I expect. I mean,
nope. And so they were hunting caribou, bear, and caribou, grizzly bear, and Dall sheep.
Okay.
Yep. When they were up there, which is really cool because once the hunters would come in with the animals, I got to break down all the meat and cryovac the meat and do all that stuff. So it brought back my animal side of the ag science.
Yeah. So you had experience with that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yep. And I grew up on a ranch, so I'm pretty familiar with.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, exactly. We hunted, so like growing up, we used to like deer, antelope, all that. We would fabricate our own animals.
So this guy at the camp, which is interesting, Ohio. That's where I'm from. So I grew up in Ohio. From Ashland, maybe like 2 hours, maybe I think.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think Ashland is like below like Canton, up north of, I don't know. People always ask me like, oh, have you ever been to this town? I'm like, I have no idea. Do you know how many towns are in Ohio?
Yeah.
I have a horrible memory. But so this guy kind of planted that seed for you, right? To be like, oh man, I can make chocolate. Like,
and he was more thinking about it just from like the chocolate perspective of things. And so I was kind of like, well, I'd be interested if we could actually make chocolate. So then,
Yeah.
that kind of started that whole thing. So when I came back, I started buying like equipment to make chocolate.
Yeah.
And then what, like you were saying, the whole science of chocolate, you don't even realize. So when I started buying chocolate and making chocolate and grinding chocolate, I realized one origin had a completely different flavor from another origin at the exact same percentage, exact same roast profile.
Yeah.
So all of these have like really cool, unique nuances in them. Like you can even tell like color differences between the two. Like you can see these are like really bright red and these are almost like a dusty
Oh yeah.
black. So yeah, this like color, I mean, and that's just a small difference in color, not even if we dive into flavor. So that whole science, just I became a little obsessed in figuring out like, why is it this way, what's going on, kind of deal.
Yeah.
So
And at this at this point, were you back at the Phoenician?
Yes. So
Okay,
I was back
okay.
at the Phoenician. This is in 2021. COVID changed the culture of hotels, I would say, quite a bit, in the sense of just the number of people traveling, the number of people there. And then it also, I think it changed the culture of the employees quite a bit.
Okay.
Myself included, like after 8 months off, spending time with family and kind of having a reset, like nobody wanted to work weekends. Nobody wanted to work. Everybody wanted to work remote, but I'm like, we're hospitality. We need to be in there. We need to be in the restaurant. We need to be cooking.
Yeah.
So I would say staffing was extremely difficult. Just trying to get people to work weekends, to work holidays, work overtime, like everything that needed to be done. It changed the culture quite a bit. And I was making chocolate at that time, just kind of as like a hobby. So I knew that I really wanted to kind of grow that side of things. So after like in 2021, I was at the Phoenician for probably another 6 months. And then once we finished that season, then I kind of transitioned into making chocolate full time, which of course, when you start a full-time business, you have all this extra time because now you're not working two businesses.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So from there, I started working for a couple families, just like cooking in their home,
Nice.
which ultimately led me to like one family that I worked for about 3 years. And I did breakfast and dinner for them because they still were working throughout the day, so they didn't need lunch. So I got to work my chocolate business in the middle of the day. So I'd go there, do breakfast, come home, do chocolate production, go back, shop, do dinner. And then that was kind of my day.
Nice.
So it was really perfect. And I was able to kind of grow both sides of my business there.
Yeah. And so how did you get into something that always intrigues me is I'm a sucker for marketing. So like branding and design and stuff like that. I love your design. Like I love the logo, like just everything about it. Is that your work?
It's a headache. Oh my gosh. Like I never, so this is our technical logo here.
Okay.
And this is, it's flames. And then the roots is the negative. So my like roots were kind of forged in fire. So like every part of my life was
like
really
that.
defined by fire. Growing up, camping, cooking over Dutch ovens. And then I, worked in the restaurant industry. I always had a huge passion for fire. Worked at that restaurant out in Spain called Asador Echebari, which did everything over fire. And then when I came back, I, launched my next big step. I wanted to be kind of signifying as like something that I was really passionate about that really had a big part in all pivotal moments of my life.
Yeah.
So my roots were forged in fire is kind of where that started. But the cacao tree and tree of life is like super important. But branding, I mean, gosh, people need to tell you how important branding and packaging and I mean, even just social media and Instagram, like it is.
Yeah.
It is a beast.
It is.
But yeah, it was probably 2 years in the making, moving from like a craft brown package that we had that had like a window where you could see the stuff into this packaging, which again, I love, but I think, I think things constantly go through rebrand. But yeah, at one point in time, I wanted it to be matte because it kind of fit the vibe better. And it's just, you have to think about colors that are on the shelf, differentiation, how it's packaged, cost of packaging, how many stickers. Oh my gosh, there's just so many things. So that was years of headaches that, turned out quite beautiful in the end.
Turned out great.
It's like feminine, but elevated, but a man will still buy it,
Absolutely.
But we're a women-owned, women-run company, so.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah. I think it's perfect. And I didn't even notice on that logo that there were flames. I saw the roots, but I didn't see the flames in it.
And the back, like you can see the flames in the bottom, but all these are embers
throughout
throughout the packaging too. So,
Nice.
yeah, little touches that you wouldn't know if you weren't studying it real hard.
For sure. Well, now that you heard it exclusively here on a Taste of AZ podcast.
Yes, exactly. Details behind the packaging.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think it's great. And so, like, what do you have like on the chocolate side of things? And so before, I don't want to jump ahead too much, but now that you have your place on Osborne and 24th Street, you have your own little kind of shop up there of just the chocolates as well. Like you're, full service restaurant, but you also have the shop too.
Yes.
Cool.
So when I had found out that Larder and Delta wasn't in the space anymore, so I knew it was available, and I reached out to Kevin just to kind of see what was happening with the space, because over the years I've looked for a brick and mortar for more of the chocolate business, because again, still not. I'm like, I still have PTSD, and I'm like, I'm not opening up a restaurant.
Yeah.
And so I kind of asked him what was going on with space, and he was like, oh, we're not sure yet. I'll be back in town if you want to like come take a look at it. And it'd been years since I'd seen it. So I was like, you know what? I should go back in and check it out. And we walked this space, and I'm just like, wow, this is, you forgot it's like a house, and there's all these eclectic cool rooms. And I've always been about like community and chocolate and just, being able to like be around people, be with people, socialization, which I think was very stagnant during COVID.
For sure.
And people, really wanted that. And I was like, this is way too big for just a brick and mortar, but I like loved being across from Glypon, and like any space I walked into is like in a strip mall, and you just like walk into this cold rectangular room, and it just never fit the vibe of what I was trying to accomplish. I wanted like a lounge, and I wanted to just it to have like soul and character.
For sure.
And I kind of got to the point where I didn't know if that was going to happen in Phoenix. So as I was looking to expand, I was like, maybe I'll go, into another town or something like that. But then I walked this space, and I told Kevin, I was like, man, like this needs to be like this needs to have like multiple meal periods that this restaurant serves, and we could do chocolate as the niche. Like, what if we had like a coffee shop? And the more I started talking, the more the plan kind of came together. And he was like, I think you need to do some deep thinking on this, because I think this is a really good idea. And fast forward 3 months later, we had a restaurant. So
wow. So that thinking process sped up pretty quickly. Yeah.
I mean, this is a beautiful space, and if I wouldn't have jumped on it, it would have been on the market as something else. That's just the way the real estate world works. This is a prime area right across from Glypon. It's a really cool house. It has gardens. It has so many things that, there was a number of people knocking on Kevin's door. So I needed to kind of sit down and work through my plans on what I wanted to do in order to kind of commit to this restaurant.
Yeah.
So I if you would have asked me a year ago if I had plans to open up a restaurant, I would not have.
And a year ago is not that long ago.
No,
either, right?
I know. I mean,
process.
I walked this space in July of last year, and then we opened in November.
Oh,
so it happened very quickly. But yeah, I have experience in breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Obviously, dinner has always been a huge passion of mine. I think that's the place where my food resonates the most with people. But with the breakfast and lunch, I wanted a place that like I wanted to go to. Like there's so many places that as chefs, we may be a bit pretentious sometimes when we go out, not verbally, but just internally, where we just want a place that has good food, good atmosphere, and we just want to hang out. Sometimes we don't want to talk to people. Sometimes we want to work on our computer. We're so used to being in the restaurant industry that it's like, sometimes it's hard to just sit at home or to do work at home. Nobody wants to do work at home when you're already like, you're only home a couple hours. Last thing you want to do is add workspace to your safe environment. So I just wanted to create a place where people could get an awesome cup of coffee, get introduced to drinking chocolate and fun items like that, and then just have a really chill, like approachable menu with ingredients that like you feel really good eating. A lot of my favorite restaurants, like, I may only eat at a couple times a year because I don't feel awesome after eating them. Like I love the food, but it's not food you can eat every day. And working for a like single family for years, you kind of learn, I mean, I think as chefs, sometimes we get so tied up into creativity and like making things cool and unusual and interesting that we forget that people don't eat interesting every day. Like you could literally eat a piece of salmon or a spaghetti and bolognese every single day at home
Yeah.
and not even think about it.
For sure. Yeah.
You don't need variety when you're eating it every day. And so I think working for private clients like allowed me to realize that like I don't need to be crazy. Like I think
Yeah.
quality is really important. I think some type of intrigue or interest because you do sometimes get sick of it. And outside that, just really high quality food that is like approachable.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of what we tried to accomplish here and what I think we've been pretty successful.
Okay, that's what I was going to
accomplishing.
ask you. Is that's like the ethos of Tandy's, and you do all three, right? Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner 7 days a week.
Yeah.
I think that looking around in the area, I idolized Lux. They do it well. People love to hang out there.
Yeah.
It's got counter service all day most of the time, with like some bar service, but just seeing like the number of people that are going through there and hanging out there, and like they have the opportunity to do cool pastries, cool cocktails, like, and so when I'm thinking about places that we need more of, I think of places like that.
Yeah.
So that was, one of the restaurants that I kept going back to. Valentine does it well too, but yeah, just someplace you can always hang out and come and eat awesome food. But it's like still kind of tied in nostalgia. So like, a couple of items that were on our winter menu, we had like the meatloaf, which is like kind of based on my mom's recipe with like mashed potatoes and broccoli, and our chicken and dumplings that has like a biscuit style dumpling on top that we bake to order. So it's like super soft, super fluffy. And then we have like a pork shank that's like covered in mole from like our own chocolate with like tortillas. So like, dishes that like still resonate with like comfort food, but are like unique or done well.
Yeah.
And then now moving into like our summer menu, we have a barbecue chicken dish that we rub with our mole spice. So it's got like chilies and like a bunch of different peppers and like a little bit of cacao in there. So we rub it with that for 24 hours and then we do it on the green egg. So it's got like a nice smokiness to it. And then we're serving it with like grilled grapes and walnuts and pickled mustard seed. And a lot of people are like, what are you thinking? But I'm like, that's like a Waldorf salad. Like you have like blue cheese and grapes and like walnuts. And that's like all in a Waldorf salad, which is like, you can't get more classic than that. That's like something all of us grew up with, whether we loved it or not. Like it still has like a lot of nostalgia.
Yeah.
So I like am taking those ingredients that like make sense together and like putting them in a way that like that smoky like character with like the chicken, and we do it with like a white barbecue, which is like a fancy way of saying it's like almost coleslaw dressing.
Okay.
But it's a mayo based barbecue sauce that has vinegar and horseradish and hot sauce and like onion powder, mustard powder, like all those ingredients in it that's like served with the chicken. So you get this like creamy without having a lot of dairy and like things like that. So I think those are like the dishes that we've always been trying to like kind of accomplish. We have a trout amandine that has wild rice with like red cherries in it, with like herbs. And then we have a parsley lemon butter sauce. So things that are like nostalgic or fresh, and then, putting a twist on it that makes it like uniquely Tandy's.
Yeah. I like that. Trout is one thing that I don't think I've had it until maybe like 2 years ago. I was like, holy shit, this is incredible. There's a trout farm up in like Sedona, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you know who Brett Vibber is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Brett used to work at, I can't remember now. It's on the 89 going out of, there was a hotel and restaurant.
Was it oh man, I have to think of it.
It's right on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, he worked, I'm trying to think. He worked at
Junipine.
Oh, yeah.
Junipine, yeah. And the trout farm was like right there. So I went one time and he had a trout dish. I'm like, and everything Brett does. I mean, he probably picked all of those ingredients from around the forest that day. But that was my first, I'm like, wow, this is an incredible fish.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I've done some foraging dinners with Brett and Tamara. Yeah.
Nice. They're awesome.
Tamara.
The two of them are really what got me into food. Like, because I was doing beer and I did a podcast with Helio Basin and they were like, hey, can we have our chef join? I'm like, sure. And I'd been there and it was a very unique menu. I'm like, yeah. And then she came on and blew me away. And I tell her that all the time. I'm like, when she was leaving for Utah, I had this heartfelt, I'm like, Tamara, you changed my life. Because it did. It like opened my whole world to beyond just beer to like, wow, food can be very interesting, right? Because I thought it was either chains or fine dining.
Yeah.
I don't know why I had that limited mindset with it, but she was like, I was like, oh shit, this can be really cool. And then she's like, well, you need to meet Brett because Brett taught me everything that I know. And then I met Brett and I'm like, this guy's just a different level. And he just cracks me up every stuff that comes out of his mouth. I'm kind of like, jeez, dude, like, he's no filter. But yeah. So, okay. So that's the new summer menu. That's like, or you have a new menu. Okay.
So we have a summer menu out that has like watermelon salad, which again, it's like tahini and feta and herbs. It's just like light, fresh lemon vinaigrette. The barbecue chicken dish, which we're really excited about.
That sounds
it's
incredible.
It's like so fun, has like a nice twist to it. And then we introduced kind of a seasonal menu onto the side of it. So we've got like our seasonal empanada that we run during happy hour too.
Okay.
We have a really beautiful beet hummus on right now with like just crudité and some crushed hazelnuts with like a little bit of honey. But yeah, we're just trying to keep like really, really light and fun and fresh going into the summer. And then of course, I know we already have people revolting that the chicken and dumplings and the meatloaf are coming off.
Yeah.
So they'll come back in the fall.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And then like the pork shank's on right now, but we'll probably convert that into a steak with steak frites with like a mole sauce.
Ooh, nice.
To try to lighten it up a little bit. But I'm like having a hard time letting go because that's like my dinner. I'm like, wow, what am I going to eat? Yeah.
I'm my biggest customer. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And we also have like a grilled, it's kind of a pun on words, but we have a grilled corn cob salad.
Okay.
And we have like grilled corn obviously in there with like bacon and feta and avocado and hard boiled eggs, which is just like super light and great.
I think that's what I had the last time we were here when Rachel and I came.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it's on lunch and it's so good.
Yeah. Well, and also I want to talk about like some of the, if we haven't already talked about some of the ones that are like constantly on the menu. And I think the burger is that one.
Yes.
The first time I came here, that's what I had with those beef tallow fries. And I was like, what? And it was so cool because I came with my friend and we sat right by the kitchen, which is like, it's fully open. Like they're everything.
No filter.
And I love that. Like I've always liked concepts with the open kitchen. You can see what's going on. This is next level though. But it's next level, but a different level, right? Because it's not like this huge kitchen where you've got 60 people in there working and you can see that. It's a small team. You feel like you're at a home, like so you're being hosted at your favorite friend's house, and
booze blocks. It's not stainless steel, so we have like all booze blocks, so it just feels homey and comfortable. And we have like the spice racks are in the dining room. Yeah. So sometimes we've got to go out and kind of finagle between guests to like get the chili flakes kind of deal. Yeah. But yeah, so we've tried to do a lot of things with the space to kind of make it super homey. Yeah. Lightened up the walls, added a lot of light. We have a huge, what we call our art feature in the hallway towards the bathroom and around into the dining room is a chocolate packaging from around the world.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Me and two of my friends have a chocolate club and we meet once a month, and I've known them for a while, but in the first times we were chatting with each other, we realized that we all keep our chocolate wrappers when we're done eating the chocolate. And it's like, and I'm not talking about like a Hershey bar or a Kit Kat bar that I have a collection of. No, like fine craft chocolate packaging has a lot of information about like where it's from, who the farmer is, different percentages, roast profiles, like every package is different. So my obsession with years of this, I started kind of a collection, some of which was for research and development, and other was just because these are packages that I loved and I kind of wanted to keep a library of them. So after talking for a while, we all have our own libraries of both discarded packaging and of chocolate that we want to share with others. So I was like, well, we should start meeting once a month and just eating chocolate together, because I have thousands of bars in my house. I literally have a chocolate library. So I have a bookshelf dedicated in my office that has alphabetized chocolate packaging from around the world. Just bars, like actual bars with chocolate in it. It's getting to the point now where I need to start making more brownies to kind of burn through it. But so we started meeting, and then one of our employees is an artist, a photographer. And so I handed her a bunch of packaging and asked kind of her for her vision. And so she, I really wanted it to be 3-dimensional. We had some kind of cutout and we had some kind of box style. And so she did kind of like a rainbow pattern, starting with our brand colors that kind of wraps down the hallway, and did an incredible job. So like that's a pretty cool fixture in there too.
That's really cool. And it reminds me of like with craft beer. Like I had this whole process. Like if I've had a label, because most craft beer, like the cans are labeled afterwards, right? Like, so they're not shrunk wrap on there. They're not, so they're easy to take off. So I would get my cans and I would fill them with hot water. And then I could peel the sticker off really easy. And I have my beer fridge outside that the whole thing was covered. So anybody that's really, Rachel can attest to this, anybody that's really into craft beer, we love the labels. Like, we love the labels of, I was bringing beer home from like New Hampshire or Ohio, and the beer itself wasn't that different. Like, I get an IPA at Rent House that is just as good, if not better than this one that I hauled 2,000 miles, right? But the label was different, and the label was cool. And it was like, we used grains from this farm that's 3 miles away, so I get that. I used to geek out on that stuff big time. So it's good to hear that there's other industries that geek
do
out
that
on that stuff.
Yeah. Even with our tin fish, like we have a tin fish selection, which is really fun. I actually should have brought the tin fish package. Maybe we'll show it later. But we have a tableside selection of the tin fish.
Yeah.
So we buy a bunch of different tin fish, and it constantly rotates depending on what we have. And then I show up at the table, and then I talk through like the 14 or 15 different types of tin fish. You pick which one you want, and then we go to the back, open it up. We leave the package on the plate, and then serve it with some of our house-made hot sauce that my sous chef Jonathan, that's like his baby. He loves doing all that. So we've got like chipotle raspberry, we've got Fresno, we've got like a jalapeno rosemary. He's really just taken that and run, and we have some pretty incredible hot sauces that we pair with all these tin fish with some bread and butter pickles, and then just like baguette and potato chips. So it's just like super simple, so fun. And like right now, like tin fish is super hot.
Yeah.
I have loved it for years. So like I've always have my own collection.
Yeah.
My last GM, Shelby always had like a tin fish in her purse. And I was like, I knew we were going to be friends. Like this is how we bond.
Emergency
like,
tin.
Yeah. We before the restaurant was open, we were sitting in this back room, probably exactly where we are right now, going through a wine list and stuff. And like, she's like, oh, like I'm super hungry. And she like pulls a sardines out of her bag. And I was like, I'll get the hot sauce and the chips. And I was just like, we're going to be friends forever. So it's like little things like that make everything awesome.
That's great. Well, so what's the future look like for you? Like, I mean, I know a year ago you didn't even think you would have this place. So do you have like expansions or?
Oh my gosh. I told myself we would never open up more than one restaurant in a year, and we're sticking to that.
Okay.
And it's like, I think we bit off a lot. We have a lot of moving pieces here. We have breakfast, lunch, dinner, happy hour. We do catering. We do our whole pastry program in-house.
Nice.
My executive chef, Rebecca Swift, is very incredible. And she does like beautiful edible pastries that just sometimes are too cute to eat. And then she's done our pastry program as well. So all of our croissants, we're using our own chocolate and everything in that, which is one of the reasons we wanted to do pastries in-house, is because we have all these ingredients that it's very hard to get to other people to make them for us to get it back.
Sure.
So she does all those things, and we have a retail and wholesale chocolate business. So we're happy with where we're at.
Yeah,
I always think about ice cream. At some point in time, I want to do our own ice cream and maybe have like little ice cream bar.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're just want to make this restaurant successful and have it be as the best it can be.
I love it. Well, I'm a big fan. Myself. I know Rachel is as well. Luke, my business partner, is so you're growing a fan base within the A Taste of AZ team for sure. Yeah,
good.
Yeah. So for the chocolate, so you can come into Tandy's on 24th and Osborne, and you can buy it there. Do you have do you do shipping and stuff too? Like, can people?
We
buy
do
in the store?
shipping.
Okay.
We're a little particular in the summer, just because of temperatures. But we also have some wholesale businesses. Like we sell to Chula, both
nice.
Uptown and Greyhawk. We're at the Westin Kierland, the coffee flats in there. We do the Renaissance. We're working with a project on with little rituals. So there's a couple different hotels and small places we work at. In addition, Faraway Wine just up the street, which is a great wine shop.
Great
just
music,
around the
like
corner.
they're all about
Oh
the
yeah,
music. Yeah,
and like
yeah.
Pat and Chris are like the best people in the world.
Yeah.
So they do our chocolate bars there, and yeah, so we've been kind of particular, and we picked local and people that we love to work with, and that we already have partnerships with in terms of our wholesale. But we also sell retail here, and then distribute out to them as well. So
What's you said Bitter and Twisted?
No, not Bitter and Twisted. Little Rituals.
Little Rituals.
Yep.
What do you do with them?
Well, this has just started, so it's still in the tentative phase, so I may be speaking too early, but we're looking at doing like a little like white chocolate chip for one of their cocktails that they're going to like serve caviar on and stuff like that. So
interesting.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
Creativity with it, right?
Yes.
Because when you have people who are craftsmen in what they do, and they find other people that are doing incredible stuff, they're like, I would rather have Tandy make this incredible chocolate for us than it adds to the story.
Yes.
Right. It adds to the depth of what you're providing to a consumer, right? It's not just the words on the paper. It's like, oh, this is chocolate with this, and it's like, no, this is made by this other place. Oh, you want to go somewhere for lunch tomorrow? Go to Tandy's. You got the chocolate there. I love that. Yeah. Because they're doing incredible cocktails. They've been doing it for years. So to partner with somebody like you to take those things to the next level, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Maxwell Berlin did our cocktail program too. So like chocolate is laced all the way through our cocktail program too. So we have like a cacao infused Negroni that has like some like strawberry Chambourcy in there. And then we have our creme de cacao that we make in house, and just it's like kind of tailored all throughout the menu, which is really cool.
Nice.
Our espresso martini. Don't miss that for brunch.
Oh man, I miss espresso martinis.
It's made with this.
Oh.
Yeah, we could do a non-alcoholic one.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
we'll just shake
shot.
it up and serve it over ice.
There you go. I love it. Well, Tandy, thank you. Thank you for making the time. I know you got a lot going on. So special shout out to Angelina for getting this set up. But thank you for making the time.
Of course. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
The article was great. We're glad to be part of anything.
Well, good. We're happy with that. And we're going to continue to be having team lunches, dinners, and breakfasts and chocolate tastings.
Absolutely.
Now until the infinite future. So
Perfect.
awesome.
All
Thanks,
right.
Tandy.
Cheers.